All right. What's up, my YouTube non existent following? It's your boy, YG, aka Y Doggy Dog. I'm just trying to pass some time here while I try and get this set up. I'm experimenting. So hopefully my video didn't cut out right there. But today I decided I'd do another installment of this series that I would like to get done, maybe a little bit at a time, about the idea of rescuing your father. And so I think the last time I had a video where I went rambling for a while with all my notes of everything I'd compiled about the archetype of rescuing the father. And so I might have been a little bit foggy headed that day. It might have been a little bit too long, maybe not that entertaining, but I laid out the basic gist. I used a whiteboard and drew pictures to represent the different stages and the whole idea surrounding the archetype of rescuing your father. And in that, I laid out the first step being having respect for the father, voluntarily look at yourself, be honest and courageous, humble, willing to learn, acknowledging you aren't all you could be. So, this is going to be my attempt at that. And to begin with, the first part of that, the prerequisite, I would say, and I called it the prerequisite. I don't know if it necessarily is, but it would seem like to me before you begin anything that the starting point is something like you have to have respect for the father, and just for the sake of you know appeasing maybe some of the people who are going to call this patriarchal or whatever in nature. Why is it only the father? Well, it could be the mother too. It could be your mom. Maybe you didn't have a father. But I think the father is the right way to go, and is the right one to look at. But it'd be good to have respect for both your parents, right? And everything they've done for you as a starting point for a lot of things in life. I think a lot of people wish things could have been better for them, including me. You wish things could have gone differently in your life, or maybe you wish your parents would have done something as opposed to something else. And as much as you'd like to criticize, I think you should try to bite your tongue, and maybe that's something I haven't been great about in the past, but I think you should bite your tongue and make sure you look at everything you can about them, and glean from it what you can before you criticize. So, for me, part of that is just realizing, is looking at what my dad did for me and realizing really how grateful I was for that, and realizing kind of just the practicing this and putting that into practice, made me realize I really look up to my dad and I really have a lot of respect for him, and maybe I didn't always have the closest relationship, and maybe I don't always even say these things to his face. That's one thing that's kind of personal about me. I have a hard time saying I love you or giving people hugs, and I've closed myself off for a lot of my life. And you know, I think a lot of people do. How many people go to the grave with some type of grudge between them and their brother, that there's that's where that phrase came from. You took it to the grave, and just doesn't seem right, and so maybe that's something I can work on, and maybe I'll say these things to my dad. And I'm not going to put anything too personal in here, but I do feel like for anyone who does end up stumbling upon this, or who's interested in these ideas that comes across this video, I'm going to say some things that help me practice that. So One of them being that, um, I'm when you're in really dark times and really hard times, memories and things from the past, good memories can get you a long ways. And so I'm grateful because my dad, I had a magical childhood. I grew up in a small town, a nice small town, and where everybody was nice and people looked out for each other, and it was safe to just run around all day long with your friends. And I had a great group of friends, and so I respect my parents for giving me that opportunity. But also, my dad, for example, every year for my birthday, my dad would take me and my friends camping out at our family's pasture. And there was this old school bus that was really like an old Suburban or something. But it was big enough. I guess they used to use it as a school bus that, was painted camouflage, and they called it the hunting bus. And so my dad, he'd load up 8 or 9 kids, me and my friends from, what, I don't know when we started doing this, maybe grade 2 or 3, through my 6th grade year. We'd go camping every year for my birthday, and we'd load that thing up with camping gear and go out there and have a good time. And, that really, that's a magical, that pasture in general was already a magical and special place for me. But my dad doing that was, really something great. Also, he used to take us out to Colorado like once a year, riding dirt bikes, probably starting and when I was in grade 3. And or I guess it was probably, I forget now. I think it was, yeah, the summer after grade 3 going into grade 4. And went out there on an XR70 for the first time. And I just have a lot of great memories of that as well. Having a dad that was really competent in motorcycles and mechanics, how to fix those things, work on those things, even camping and wilderness things. It was like those were great memories because we didn't have a care in the world. We could go out in the most, I know we weren't in the most rural, but we could have, you could be out in the most rural part of Colorado, and, something could go wrong, and my dad would be there with an idea on how to fix that. And I think that's the part, that's the archetype, that's the embodiment of the competent father, right? Can help you in that situation, and can rescue you and in distress, or is there to be a hero. And you didn't necessarily think of it at the time, but you look back now and it's like, if your dad was some dumbass city slicker, those could have been those could have been nightmare vacations. I mean, drag these kids out there. It'd be like if I were to go do it, man. If I was to drag my kids out there, or Nikki and Kennedy, something could probably go wrong that I'm not competent enough anymore to be able to fix. And that's the part of me I wish I could be as competent as I could be, or I'd like to be that guy. And that's a hard thing to reconcile with my disease. It's like having to, I guess let go of those things in a way. But yeah, I guess that's maybe a little off track. I guess what I'm saying is those memories and those great things about my dad, those times we spent together can get me through some dark times. And it's also, that's like reminiscing on all the things that I have a lot of respect for my dad. He's a hard worker, and he was always providing for his family. And although I wish there's things he would have done differently, or maybe that we could have done differently as a family, different things like that. Until you could show you could do better, or you could avoid those pitfalls, or you think that you've learned the lesson, or until you've gleaned all of the things there is to appreciate from your dad, it's not, you shouldn't go criticize, because there's probably a lot more to take from it than there is to criticize. And I think that's in general with life. Before you get all down and depressed about something that you don't have, there's probably 1,000 things that you haven't really said I'm thankful for that you do have. So that's almost just prerequisite for life in general, but also rescuing the father. Next, voluntarily look at yourself. Be honest and courageous, humble, willing to learn, acknowledging you aren't all you could be. So, for me, I think this is kind of the first step of like looking in that reflection. This is the first glance at that reflection. And what do you see? And for me, that's really hard because in a lot of ways, I see a lot of unfulfilled things, and things that I'm not necessarily proud of. I have to be honest about my situation. I messed up really severely and put my family and my daughter in probably a really tough bind. Um, you know, like I said earlier, there's things I wish I could, there might be things you wish could have went differently, or your parents could have helped you more one way or another. But I have to reconcile the fact that I had a pretty great childhood when I take all those things in life, and advice from my parents and all those things. And if I have that little bit of, well, I wish that could have gone differently, what is my daughter going to be saying? That's a hard thing to say, because I've for sure done a lot worse than my dad has, and I'm trying to make the best of a bad bunch. Um, so again, um, I don't know. Let's see here. Humble. I've tried to. I feel like CTE has humbled me a lot. Willing to learn. You gotta be. Acknowledging you aren't all you could be, and that's the part. Like I was saying, that's pretty easy to acknowledge. In my situation, and it's kind of a tough one to swallow as well when it feels like a little bit impossible to fix. But that's part of, I can be courageous and take stock of that man in the mirror, that first reflection, although I may not be able to see the greatness inside of him. I see a lot of failures, and I see a lot of tragedy. Um, I can take stock of who I am, and I'm humbled, and I am courageously trying to move forward and doing the best I can for my daughter and my family and myself every single day. And so I feel like that's a little bit of just the first step. Again, I don't know what else I could say. Guess that will have to be good enough for now. I don't want to ramble forever. I'm already at 14 minutes. But I guess, I want everybody to know that I've had a great life. I've had a great father, you know. It was something Jordan Peterson said that resonated with me. It was like, you know, you get tired of your dad giving you advice growing up, you know, because it feels like that's all he's ever doing, you know, and sometimes you know that he's not wrong or he's wrong or you don't agree with him, you know, but it's like it's probably like 10% of the time. And the other 90%, it's like things you just don't know yet that if you could incorporate into your life would make you better. And I have flashbacks of that, man, throughout my teenage and 20s of things that my dad said that were coming back to me. That it's like, if I would have listened to that and applied that to my life, without a doubt, my life would have been better. And, you know, I might have been a lot more closed off and black hearted and or cold hearted and hard headed and sure of myself and arrogant than a lot of other people. So it's not to say, you know, you're gonna meet the same fate if you don't um if you ignore a few bits of your dad's advice. But I think the idea is, you know, if you applied it all unequivocally, just took it and applied it, yeah, there might be 10% that didn't make sense that you're like, well, why am I doing this? But it's like the other 90% you just don't know why you're doing it yet, and it make your life better. So um you know, I'm trying to give my daughter the best advice I can and do everything I can. And, you know, no, she's pretty stubborn sometimes, but she's 2 years old, so she gets a pass. And I hope that she'll listen to me and my life could be of some good to make someone else's life better. Thank you.